Welcome to the Friday evening stream, guys. How are we doing? How are things? This is a quick little stream I'm going to do today ahead of game week 15, which of course starts tomorrow. The deadline is 11 AM. How are you all feeling? How are you guys doing? Make sure to say hi in the chat. And by the way, if any point through this you want a team surgery, team dissection, team advice, whatever you want to call it, please drop your team ID in the live chat, and we'll have a little chat about it. But how's your season going so far? Because we're getting closer to that midway point. We're not there just yet, but where are you sitting in the ranks? Are you happy with your current rank? Do you wish you're a little bit higher at the moment? What have you made of the season as a whole? Because I think it's been a very interesting season, particularly with the addition of the DEFCON system, of course, making the likes of centre-backs more valuable, defensive midfielders are kind of right near the top of the list in terms of, you know, the point-scoring midfielders in the game, and just some of the teams that have showed up this season. It's been a really difficult season to predict the outcomes of certain games. That's what I found. I don't know how you found it, but this is my team on the screen currently. I have actually made my transfer. I made it earlier today. So if you aren't already aware, we're on game week 15 at the moment. But as soon as the game week 15 deadline passes, what we're going to get is we're going to be given 5 free transfers each. So all of our transfers are going to be reset to 5, which means if you've got any transfers now, they kind of lose their value if you don't use them. So the way I see it is, people might see things differently because people might be bringing in a player this week to hold onto for the long term. But I think actually a better strategy is bringing in a player who has the best fixture this week and is capable of scoring big this week, and bringing them in for a player who I think, or if you look at your team, is the player who perhaps might miss some minutes this week or might not perform as well, or you don't expect to do as well. So my line of thinking this week is, there's one fixture that I really want to target, and I'm already quite heavy on Newcastle because I've got double Newcastle defence. But Burnley at home, Burnley at St James's Park, and I'm a Newcastle fan, the amount of pressure I think that will put Burnley under, I think there's going to be a lot of chances in that game. So I really do think that Newcastle are the team to target this weekend if you've got one free transfer. Because remember, even if the games after this next week aren't the best, with 5 free transfers, you can pretty much change the whole structure of your team anyway. So really targeting this 1 week, I think, is going to pay off big time. So my free transfer basically that I've used this week is, I was looking around the team and I was thinking, I'm quite happy with Raya in goal. I think I'll hold him for the long term. And then the double Newcastle defence, of course, I'm going to hold on to them. And then Munoz, of course, he's got to stay, hasn't he? He's been the best defender in the game. And then looking at the midfield, I'm fairly happy with Saka this week. Fairly happy with Semenyo. Same with Ndai, really. They've both got 2 home fixtures where I can see Bournemouth winning a penalty. I can see Everton winning a penalty. It's probably worth holding them for this week. And then Mbeumo and Cunha were just massively disappointing, weren't they, the other day? Having double Man United attack in that game was a painful watch. So actually, I'm looking to the forward positions, and I think Mateta can be sold this week. So basically, the transfer that I've decided to go for is I've gone for Mateta out and then Nick Voltemade in. And I've actually given him the captaincy armband this week, which might be a foolish decision. I did go against Haaland last week with Semenyo, which didn't pay off. And I could see the same thing happening again this week. I just think with my current rank at about 1.2 million, it's kind of the stage of the season where I think if you want to start to finish in those higher ranks, you've got to take a little bit of a, strategic risk, and that's what I'm doing this week. So Voltemade is the player that I'm going to bring in, or that I have brought in, because I think Newcastle are going to create a lot this week. I think he's going to start. I think he's going to get the best part of probably 80, 85 minutes. And I just think Man City might struggle to score a lot of goals this week. So, of course, everybody's talking about Phil Foden. Again, I'm interested to bring him in, but I'm not really interested in selling anyone. Because if I sell and die, I can't afford him. I don't have any money in the bank. If I sell Semenyo, I can't afford him because I don't have any money in the bank. And if I sell Cunha, I can't afford him as well. And also Cunha's got a good fixture this week. So that really leaves Mbeumo away at Wolves or Saka away at Villa. And I think both of them could do quite well this week. So that's my line of thinking, and that's the one transfer that I've made this week. I've got rid of Mateta and brought in Voltemade. And I think what I'm thinking about doing in the following week, when we all get given the 5 free transfers, is probably changing the structure of the team around to a 3-4-3. Probably, obviously I want Igor Thiago for the following week because his ridiculous run just... he's got a good game this week away at Tottenham. But I think we're going to want him for the long term, certainly from next week. And his price keeps rising, which is a bit frustrating. And of course in game week 16, Mbeumo and Ndaya off to AFCON. So there's going to need to be compromises in the way the team structure works. So, you could go for a cheap midfielder, somebody that doesn't really play or somebody who plays and gets nothing like Freddie Potts. And then that still leaves a decent amount of money, 2.1 million in the bank to get rid of Ndai. And then potentially, with 8.6 million, I could bring in Phil Foden next week. And then I think that's a pretty strong team in game week 16. But yeah, that's my line of thinking. Let me know how you guys are doing in the chat, by the way. If there's any dilemmas you have with your own team, I can put your team up on the screen and we can have a talk through it. Because I know there's lots of people unsure what to do this week because, they're a little bit unsure of what to do with their team. Because I think there's quite a few teams and quite a few players to target this week. And like I said a moment ago, it's that dilemma, isn't it, between do you want to try and bring someone in to use for the long term? But I think the better tactic is actually targeting this one game week in particular with all your free transfers that you've currently, that you've got at the moment. If you've got 2 or 3 free transfers, just put them in heavily for this game week and really try and target the team who is going to come out with the biggest margin of how they score points with the players. And I think Newcastle are the team this week that are going to score big and probably keep a clean sheet, but I can see them scoring 3, 4, even 5 goals they could put past Burnley at St James's Park. So that's why I've targeted Newcastle and Voltemade this week. But what do you think? What decisions are you having to consider this week? Let's have a little look at some of the fixtures and see what we think here. So I'll just get this other screen up. Let's have a look at some of the fixtures this week. So we've got Villa at home to Arsenal. Now I think this could be an interesting game. Arsenal, they've of course lost their two main centre-backs, and then they lost their other centre-back in last week's fixture as well. And there's questions about whether Declan Rice will be fit enough as well. So they've had a few absentees. They've got a few players that have come back. But I think Villa are good enough to get something from this game. So I'm predicting a 2-2 draw. But it wouldn't surprise me if either team came away with the 3 points. And then moving on to Bournemouth-Chelsea. It's another one where, you know, you would probably favour Chelsea in some respects because they've been on a good run of form, and Bournemouth's form has been, you know, pretty dismal of late. They started the season so strongly and they've really dropped off. But I could just see Chelsea without Caicedo. We saw against Leeds they really struggled. I think Bournemouth actually might edge this one. So I've gone for a 2-1 here. Everton Forest, I mean, that's a real on the fence game. I wouldn't really want to target any players particularly from that game, especially if you're thinking about bringing someone in. I would definitely look elsewhere at some of the fixtures. And then City Sunderland, it's interesting because it looks like a really good fixture because City have been so strong at home. But Sunderland, I mean, they've just been incredibly impressive so far, haven't they? And I think they'll push City really close in this game. I think City probably come away with the 3 points. But I think it's probably just a 1-goal margin that they do it. And then Newcastle-Burnley, I mean, Burnley the other day, who was it they played? Crystal Palace. They just didn't look like creating anything. They just looked so poor. And I actually thought Palace weren't that clinical. I think another week, you know, Palace could have, if they had Sarr and, you know, the fixtures weren't so congested at this time with their European games and everything, I think Palace probably could have put, you know, 3 goals past Burnley the other night. So I do expect Newcastle to come out strong and make a real statement tomorrow. Spurs-Brentford is another game that I see that's a little bit like Everton-Forest. I think it's going to be very difficult to predict. I did predict Spurs to lose 2-1 to Fulham last week in game week 13, and that was the result. And I've done the same here. I've predicted Brentford to win 2-1 because I think they just have a stronger team, and I think Thiago comes back into the team, and I think Spurs just ship too many chances in that game, and I think Brentford will come away with all the points. Leeds-Liverpool, again, you know, earlier in the season you'd say this is a guaranteed away win. But I think, you know, Liverpool have been all over the place, and yeah, they picked up a half-decent 2-0 away win to West Ham last week. But then they struggled against Sunderland the other day, so I'm sort of backing them to do the same tomorrow. And, you know, I think it might end up being a 2-2 draw. And I wouldn't really want to target any of the players from that game. I think if you're going to go for somebody, probably Gakpo, with the way that he's been playing, the form that he's had. Brighton, West Ham. I think with the home form that Brighton have had, I think you favour them. But this is the type of game that I can see West Ham turning up for. And I think West Ham, I've predicted 2-0 to Brighton on here, but I think West Ham could potentially come away having scored a goal or two. But It depends. I mean, I think Brighton will just control the ball in that game and then, subsequently control the tempo and probably come away with all 3 points. Fulham Palace, I mean, that is another one that's really difficult to predict. I think with Fulham's energy levels and Palace, the manager putting out pretty much the same team every week, I think Fulham will probably just about come out on top. And then the last game of the game week, Wolves at home to United. I've predicted 1-1 because even though Wolves have only picked up 2 points so far this season, United are just, there's no consistency there, and they've had some good performances, and if anyone does win this game, it probably will be United with their quality in the squad. But yeah, I could see that one going either way. So there's so many. What's interesting about this game week is, there's so many games like Villa, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Everton, Forest, Spurs, Brentford, Brighton, West Ham, Fulham, Palace, Wolves, United. All of those games, I think, have the potential of going the way that you probably don't expect, or they're all very close to call. So I think if you're taking a punt on any of the players this week, you avoid those teams. And I think your sole focus is probably on Man City or Newcastle assets. Possibly Brighton, because I don't mind Welbeck as a pick. Also, I'm not sure if he'll start again, but the Brighton left back, I don't know how to pronounce his name, De Kuyper. He scored the other day, and he's playing in a more advanced position with Matoma out the team, and apparently Matoma's had a setback with his injury. So that Brighton left back is playing really, really in a left wing position. So if you did have weaknesses in your defence this week and you did want to take a punt on someone, he's probably the defender I would go for alongside probably Newcastle's defence. And I think if I were to rank Newcastle's defence, I would probably put Hall at the top of the list, and then just beneath that would be Dan Burn, just because I think Burn is involved in so much of the attacking play and Hall's on some of the set pieces. So I think they're your probably 2 best bets to pick up attacking returns. But anyway, those are my thoughts heading into game week 15. If I just show you, we'll have one more look at my team at the moment. So I've got Raya in goal away to Villa, Burn and Chow at home to Burnley, who I'm very happy to own this week. Munoz, I'm not confident at all that he keeps a clean sheet this week, but you have to play him, and it's good that he keeps avoiding these yellow cards as well. Saka against Villa, again, I think he could do something this week because he had a rest in midweek. I think he starts. Semenyo at home to a Caicedo-less Chelsea. He could do something. I know people are saying he hasn't done anything for a number of weeks, but he could, he's a type of player that could pop up with a big score. And I have a feeling that some people might regret selling him this week. It's just a little sixth sense there that I feel like he could do something this week. And I don't hold much hopes for against Forest, but Everton could win a lucky penalty. Then Mbeumo and Cunha have to keep him this week and have to play him just purely due to the fixture, but I'm not even 100% confident that Cunha starts, to be honest with you. And then up front, I'm taking a big risk on Voltemada as captain because I really think Newcastle are going to dominate in that game. And it's interesting, City and Newcastle playing at the same time, which way the games go. But I just think Sunderland might give City a run for their money, I think. And the game is going to be a lot closer than people think. whereas I'm confident that Newcastle are going to win by a large margin against Burnley tomorrow. So that's my line of thinking, guys. I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much for watching if you stuck by me. That's some of my thoughts going into game week 15. Best of luck to all of you. And remember, if you've got any free transfers, any transfers in the bank, make sure you use them if they strengthen your team this week, because even for a 1 week punt, you could end up gaining some big rank this week. So make sure to use them. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching, and yeah, catch you again soon.